The company that built your freezer knows exactly how many hours a day it will run. They tested it. They published a number and stuck it on the side in a yellow sticker. They just didn't test it in your garage, in August, with 11 years of dust on the back of it and 3/4 of an inch of frost on the inside walls. That difference shows up on your bill. It does not show up on theirs. My name is Hollis Ward. I'm 63, 40 acres in the Missouri Ozarks, and there's been a chest freezer running on this place continuously since 1981. A different one now than then, but never a day without one. Because when you raise your own hogs and put up your own beans, the freezer isn't a convenience, it's the pantry. If it quits in July, you lose $400 of meat in a day and a half. So I've paid attention to that machine longer and harder than most people ever will. And about 9 years ago, I started actually writing down what it did. Now, 3 things this video is not, and I'd rather say them now than have you find out at minute 14. This is about a standalone freezer, a chest freezer or an upright freezer, the kind that's one box and does one job. It is not about the freezer compartment on top of your kitchen refrigerator. Different machine, different math. Second, and this is the one that trips people up, if your unit has a variable speed compressor, an inverter compressor, and it'll say so on the paperwork or in the model listing, then counting hours tells you nothing at all. Those are designed to run almost continuously at low speed, and that's them working correctly. GE publishes guidance saying modern compressors are built to run 80 to 90% of the time. That's true for those machines. If you count hours on an inverter unit, you'll scare yourself over nothing. This video is for the old-fashioned kind that kicks on hard, runs a while, and shuts off with a clunk. Third, hours are a stand-in. Watt hours are the truth. Hours are free to measure, and watt hours cost you $25 for a meter. So we'll use hours, but understand what we're doing. Stay with me. By the end, you'll know how to count your own number tonight without buying anything, what each hour costs you in real dollars, and the one job to do Saturday morning that takes back the biggest piece of the difference. So let's get your number. You don't need a meter, and you don't need to sit there with a stopwatch for a day. Tonight, when the house is quiet, go stand by it and wait until the compressor kicks on. You'll hear it, a hum. And if you lay your hand flat on the cabinet, you'll feel it. Write down the time. Wait until it shuts off. Write that down. Do it for one more full cycle. Now you know 2 things: how long it runs and how long it rests. The arithmetic is simple. Runtime divided by runtime plus rest time. That's your duty cycle, which is just a fancy way of saying what fraction of its life this machine spends working. 20 minutes on, 20 off. That's 50%. 12 hours a day. 15 on, 30 off. That's 33%. 8 hours a day. Do it in the evening and do it again in the morning, because a garage at 10 at night and a garage at 3 in the afternoon are 2 different countries. Published figures put a well-sealed chest freezer in a cool room around 30%, an upright a little higher, and the same machine in a hot summer garage at 40 to 50. 50% is 12 hours. 30% is a bit over 7. Now, what does an hour cost? Take the running wattage. It's on the plate on the back or inside the lid, and for a chest freezer, it's usually somewhere between 100 and 400 watts. Call it 300 for the sake of arithmetic. 300 watts running 11 hours a day is 3 3/10 kilowatt hours a day. Times 365 days, that's about 1,200 kilowatt hours a year. At 15 cents, and depending on where you live, you might be at 12 or you might be at 18. That's about $180. Same machine at 6 hours a day is 657 kilowatt hours, about $99. $80 a year, sitting in a garage, doing nothing but running longer than it needs to. And here's the benchmark to hold it against. Energy Star puts a certified chest freezer at about 215 kilowatt hours a year, roughly $30 to run. A certified upright, about $395, roughly $60. If your box is pulling 1,200, you are running 4 to 6 times a modern, efficient unit. Some of that is the machine. Some of it is yours to fix. We're about to separate those. Here's the thing to understand before any of the fixes make sense, and it's the piece that turns this from a chore list into something you can reason about. Your freezer does not make cold. There is no such thing as cold. Cold is just the absence of heat, and what that machine does is pick heat up from inside the box and carry it out and dump it into the room. It's a pump. That's all it is. A heat pump. And here's the part that matters. Heat is always coming back in. Through the walls, through the lid seal, through the floor it sits on, every second of every day. Because there is 90-degree air on one side and 0-degree air on the other, and the universe hates that arrangement and works around the clock to fix it. So the compressor isn't fighting a battle it can win. It's bailing a boat. The leak never stops, so the bailing never stops. The only question in the whole business is how fast the water comes in. Every single thing I'm about to tell you is a way of slowing the leak. Start with frost, because it's the biggest one and it's free. Open the lid and look at the walls. On a manual defrost chest freezer, the good kind, the efficient kind, you'll see white buildup on the inside surfaces. Every time you open that lid, warm air comes in carrying water vapor. That vapor hits a surface at 0 degrees, and it doesn't get to be water first. It goes straight to ice, right on the wall. And now understand what that ice is doing. Those walls are where the heat gets picked up. That surface is the evaporator, the cold side of the pump. Frost on it is a blanket. It's insulation, in the exact spot where you need the opposite of insulation. That white coating that makes you feel like the freezer is doing a fine job is a coat the freezer is wearing on the inside. It's the same physics as the fiberglass in your attic, installed in precisely the wrong place, by you, a quarter inch at a time, every time you go get a pack of sausage. Energy Star's guidance is plain about it. Don't let frost build past 1/4 of an inch. 1/4 of an inch. Go put a ruler on yours. I'd bet most of you are past it, and some of you are at 1.5 inches and have been for 3 years. And here's why it matters more than people think. A manual defrost freezer uses substantially less power than an automatic one. Virginia Cooperative Extension, in a Virginia Tech publication, puts it at 35 to 40% less. Energy Star has said as much as half. But that advantage is conditional. You only get it if you actually defrost the thing. Manual defrost means the manual part is you. Next, the outside, the condenser. The condenser is where the heat you pumped out of the box gets handed off to the room. On a lot of uprights and older chest freezers, it's a black grill of coils on the back or underneath. On many modern chest freezers, there are no visible coils at all because the condenser is built into the cabinet walls. A skin condenser, they call it. The outside of the box itself is the radiator. Either way, the rule is identical. It has to be able to give the heat away. Dust on coils is a blanket, same as frost is a blanket, just on the other end of the machine. Both ends of that pump can be smothered, and most people have smothered both. And if yours is the wall condenser type, then every box of Christmas decorations stacked against the side of it, every shelf somebody built around it to save space, is doing exactly what dust does. I've seen a man frame a beautiful cabinet around his chest freezer and then wonder why his bill went up. 3 to 4 inches of open air on every side. Guidance from Energy Star and from the extension services says the same thing in different words. Leave it room to breathe. Keep the coils clean. Now the biggest variable of all, and it's the one nobody wants to hear, because fixing it means moving a 400-pound box. The room it lives in. Your freezer's whole job is dumping heat into the surrounding air. The hotter that air is, the harder it is to give heat away, and the longer the compressor has to run to do it. A freezer in a Missouri garage in August is trying to hand off heat to 100-degree air. The same freezer in a basement at 65 degrees has a far easier time of it. Published estimates put that difference at $15 to $40 a year, and I think that's conservative for a hot garage in the southern half of this country. That same move is what takes a machine from 45% duty cycle down toward 30. If you have a basement or a north wall utility room, and your freezer is in the garage because that's where there was space, that's your biggest single lever, and it's a Saturday with 2 strong neighbors. If you've got a freezer and you've never counted its hours, count it tonight and put your number in the comments, along with where the thing sits, garage, basement, back porch. I want to see the spread. My guess is the room matters more than the brand, and I'd like to be proven right or wrong by more than one farm. Now, why has nobody told you any of this? Not a conspiracy, something duller and more permanent. There is no money in it. Think about what I've told you so far. Defrost it, Sweep the dust off, pull it away from the wall, move it to a cooler room. Not one of those is a product. Nobody stocks it, nobody advertises it, no salesman gets a commission on it. There is no aisle at the store for things you should do to a machine you already own. What there is money in is the replacement. And the yellow Energy Guide sticker on the new one is a standardized comparison number, generated under a controlled test procedure, so you can hold Model A next to Model B in a showroom. That's a legitimate and useful thing. It is not a prediction of your bill, and it was never built to be, because a lab doesn't know your garage. So the honest situation is this: a good number, honestly produced, for a purpose that isn't yours, and a set of fixes worth $80 a year that nobody has any reason to mention, because they're free. Free is the reason you've never heard it. Free doesn't have a marketing budget. Now the gasket. That rubber strip around the lid is the seal, and when it goes stiff or cracked, you have a door standing permanently ajar by a hair. Test it with a dollar bill. Shut the lid on the bill so half is inside and half is out, and pull. You should feel real resistance. The bill should drag. If it slides out clean, that spot isn't sealing. Do it in 8 places all the way around, because gaskets fail in sections, usually at the corners, and usually at the front where hands touch it. Clean the gasket twice a year with warm water and a rag. Most gaskets I've replaced didn't need replacing. They needed the crud cleaned out of the folds so they could lay flat again. Now the dial, and pay attention because this one is food safety and not just money. 0 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 below 0 Celsius. That is the number, and it isn't a suggestion somebody made up. USDA, FDA, the Department of Energy, and Energy Star all say the same figure. At 0, microbial growth stops. Colder than 0 does not make your food safer. It cannot. Nothing is growing at 0, and nothing is growing at 10 below either. So all you're buying with those extra degrees is compressor time. Published estimates run around 5 to 10% more energy for every degree below where you needed to be. Go look at your dial right now. Most freezers ship with a dial numbered 1 through 7, or marked cold, colder, coldest. And a great many people have it cranked to the top, out of a vague sense that more is better. Get a $5 freezer thermometer, put it in the middle of the load, read it in 24 hours, and adjust until it sits at 0. Not the dial number, the thermometer. 2 more quick. Empty space costs you. A full freezer holds its own cold, because frozen food is thermal mass. It's a battery that stores cold and gives it back slowly. Air stores almost nothing. So when you open a half-empty freezer, you dump the cold air out, and the compressor has to make it all again. Fill the empty space with plastic jugs of water, 3/4 full so they can expand. Free, and they'll carry you a day or two into a power outage besides. And this is exactly why a chest beats an upright, by the 10 to 25% that Virginia Tech's extension publication documents. Cold air is heavy. When you open a chest freezer, it sits in the box like water in a bathtub. When you open an upright, it pours out around your ankles, and you can feel it on your feet if you pay attention. Here's what people get wrong: setting the dial by feel instead of by thermometer. Defrosting with a screwdriver or an ice pick. You will puncture a refrigerant line inside that wall and turn a free afternoon into a new freezer. Putting warm food straight in. Every pound of hot supper you set in there is heat the compressor has to move back out. Cool it on the counter first. Unplugging it to save money while it's full? No. And believing maintenance can fix a machine that's simply worn out. If yours is from the 80s and it's pulling 1,200 kilowatt hours, a perfect defrost and clean coils might get you to 1,000. At that point, the answer isn't a rag, it's arithmetic. A modern unit at 215 kilowatt hours pays back its own price in 5 to 7 years on electricity alone, and everything after that is yours. Here's your one job. Saturday morning, early, before it gets hot. Take a ruler to the inside wall of your freezer and measure the frost. If it's under a 1/4 inch, shut the lid, go clean the dust off the back, and you're done. If it's over a 1/4 inch, today's the day. Get 2 coolers and every blanket in the house. Pull the food out and pack it tight in the coolers. A solid block of frozen food packed against itself will hold for hours. And blankets over the top buy you more. Unplug the freezer. Put towels down. Set a pan of hot water inside with the lid closed and give it 20 minutes, then swap it for fresh hot water. Ice sheets will let go of the walls, and you can lift them out whole with your hands. No metal tools, ever. Plastic scraper or nothing. When it's bare, wipe the inside dry. Every drop you leave is tomorrow's frost. Wipe the gasket while you're at it. Plug it in and let it run empty for an hour before the food goes back, and pack it tight when it does. 2 hours of your morning. Costs nothing but a couple of coolers you already own. Then count your cycles again next week. Same time of day, same way you did it the first time, and see what the number did. Next week, I'm going to show you the water heater, which is the other machine in your house that runs on a schedule nobody ever checked. And the first 3 feet of pipe coming off the top of it, which is where a surprising amount of your money goes and never comes back. I've got 9 years of numbers on a sheet of paper tacked inside the shop door. When I started writing them down, my freezer was running about 11 hours a day in the summer. It runs 6.5 now. Same freezer. I never bought a thing for it except a $10 coil brush and a thermometer. Go measure the frost.